First and foremost, I want no further comfort with him. You tell him from me that he can live or he can die. Vincent, will you shut up? In 2020, Al Pacino's heart stopped beating. Paramedics brought him back, but something changed forever. At 84, the man who gave us The Godfather lives a life no one expected. Broke after losing $50 million, doing movies he hates to survive, and becoming a dad at 83 with a girlfriend young enough to be his granddaughter. From DNA test drama to his dark beliefs about death, here's why Hollywood's greatest actor is now its loneliest. Al Pacino was born on April 25, 1940, in East Harlem, New York City. His parents, Rosa Girardi and Salvatore Pacino, were Sicilian immigrants trying to build a life in America. Their marriage didn't last long. When Pacino was just 2 years old, his father left for California to work as an insurance salesman. That left Pacino's mother to raise him alone in the South Bronx with the help of his grandparents, Kate and James Girardi. They had come from Corleone, Sicily, a town that would later become famous because of The Godfather. Life in the Bronx during the 1940s and 1950s was tough. His family struggled with money, and his father's absence created a gap that never really closed. But his mother gave him something that would shape his future. She loved movies and often took him to the theater, where he got lost in the stories on screen. Acting fascinated him even before he understood what it really was. Those early trips to the movies planted a seed that would later grow into a lifelong passion. As he got older, Pacino became known as Sonny among his friends. He had a wild side and was always pushing boundaries. By the time he was 9, he had already started smoking and drinking. By 13, he was experimenting with marijuana. He had little interest in school and was constantly in trouble. Fights, skipping class, and breaking rules became a routine. He was expelled from multiple schools before getting into the High School of Performing Arts. It seemed like the right place for someone like him, but he didn't stay long. At 17, after a fight with his mother about his future, he dropped out. With no high school diploma and no steady job, he spent his teenage years drifting. He ran with a group of friends who, like him, had no real direction. Some got into trouble, some turned to drugs. 3 of his closest friends, Cliffy, Bruce, and P.Y., would later die from drug overdoses. Pacino could have easily ended up the same way, but something kept him going. Acting became an escape, a way to focus his restless energy on something bigger than himself. He later said that if it weren't for acting, he might not have made it out at all. Then came the losses that changed him forever. In 1962, when Pacino was just 22, his mother died at the age of 43. She had struggled with depression for years, and her death hit him harder than anything before. Just a year later, his grandfather James, who had been like a father to him, also passed away. In the span of a year, the 2 most important people in his life were gone. He later called that time the lowest point of his life. He felt lost, like there was nothing left to hold on to. Many years later, in his memoir Sonny Boy, named after the nickname his mother gave him, he wrote about his pain. "If I am lucky enough, perhaps I'll reunite with my mother there. All I want is the chance to walk up to her and simply say, 'Hey, Ma, see what happened to me.'" After losing his mother and grandfather, Pacino threw himself into acting. It wasn't easy. He took any job he could find, janitor, busboy, messenger, postal clerk, just to pay for acting classes. He studied at HB Studio in Greenwich Village, where he met Charlie Lawton, an acting teacher who would become one of his closest mentors. But money was always a problem. There were nights when he had nowhere to go. He slept on friends' couches, sometimes even in theaters when he had nowhere else to stay. During the early 1960s, he was so broke that he had to sleep on the streets while taking whatever small roles he could find in underground theater productions. Al Pacino's career took a major turn in 1968 when he starred in The Indian Wants the Bronx, an off-Broadway play written by Israel Horowitz. It premiered on January 17 at the Astor Place Theater in New York City and ran for 177 performances. His portrayal of Muff had a raw energy that felt dangerous yet strangely human. He wasn't just playing a violent troublemaker, he was showing the layers beneath the aggression. Critics took notice, and so did the industry. He won the Obie Award for Best Actor. His co-star, John Cazale, won Best Supporting Actor, and Horowitz received one for Best New Play. Something even more important happened behind the scenes. The Indian Wants the Bronx was staged alongside another Horowitz play called The Sugar Plum, starring Jill Clayburgh, who was Pacino's romantic partner at the time. Through this production, Pacino met Martin Bregman, a man who would change his life. Bregman saw something special in him and became his manager. He would later help Pacino land some of his most iconic roles in The Godfather, Serpico, and Dog Day Afternoon. Pacino later said that without Bregman, his career might not have happened the way it did. Just a year later, Pacino made his Broadway debut in Does a Tiger Wear a Necktie? The play, written by Don Peterson, opened at the Belasco Theater in 1969. It told the story of teenage drug addicts in a rehabilitation center, tackling themes of addiction and redemption. Pacino played Bickham, a troubled young addict with a tough exterior hiding deep emotional wounds. The production only ran for 39 performances after 9 previews, but it left a lasting impact. Jack Kroll from Newsweek called him a hood with a poetic soul. Variety named him the most promising new Broadway actor. At just 29, he won the Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Play. That moment changed everything. Pacino's ability to bring so much depth to his roles came from years of training. He had studied under Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio in New York City, one of the most respected acting schools in the world. Strasberg was a master of method acting, teaching actors to tap into their own emotions to create realistic performances. Pacino later said that training with Strasberg gave him the confidence to pursue acting full-time. Al Pacino's journey to playing Michael Corleone in The Godfather wasn't just difficult, it was a battle. Today, his performance is legendary, but back in 1972, the idea of casting him nearly derailed the entire production. Paramount Pictures wanted a bankable star, someone like Jack Nicholson, Warren Beatty, Robert Redford, or Ryan O'Neal. Pacino, at the time, was barely known. He had only 1 film credit and a strong theater background, but that wasn't enough for the studio. They didn't see him as a leading man. They wanted someone taller, someone who fit the Hollywood image of a star. Francis Ford Coppola thought otherwise. He had seen Pacino on Broadway and believed he was perfect for Michael Corleone. He saw something in Pacino that no one else did, the ability to capture Michael's transformation from an innocent war hero to a ruthless mafia boss. Coppola refused to back down, leading to endless fights with the studio. At one point, Paramount tested James Caan for the role of Michael and gave Coppola an ultimatum. Pacino could stay, but only if Caan played Sonny Corleone. Even after filming started, the studio still wasn't convinced. They watched early footage of Pacino's performance and wanted him gone. Coppola knew he had to prove Pacino's worth, and fast. He decided to film the restaurant assassination scene earlier than planned. It was a pivotal moment, Michael's first real step into the mafia world. When the Paramount executive saw it, everything changed. Years later, Pacino took on another controversial role in HBO's Paterno, a 2018 film about the Penn State child abuse scandal. It focused on a crucial 2-week period in 2011 when Joe Paterno, a football legend with over 400 career wins, saw his reputation destroyed. His former assistant, Jerry Sandusky, had been arrested for sexually abusing young boys and was later sentenced to 30 to 60 years in prison. The film raised one haunting question: how much did Paterno know? Pacino's performance captured a man torn between his football empire and the growing scandal. In one scene, Paterno recalls a 2001 report from an assistant coach who had seen Sandusky molesting a boy in a team shower. Paterno informed university officials but never followed up, a decision that overshadowed everything he had built. Critics praised Pacino for showing Paterno's internal conflict, but the film itself left audiences divided. Some saw Paterno as a scapegoat, while others believed he had turned a blind eye. Over 300 of his former players protested the movie, claiming it unfairly destroyed his legacy. Just months after being fired from Penn State, Paterno died of lung cancer at age 85. The film didn't take a side. Instead, it forced viewers to decide whether Paterno was guilty of inaction or simply caught in a system that failed everyone. Pacino stepped into another controversial role in 2013 with HBO's Phil Spector. The film explored the life of the legendary music producer known for revolutionizing sound in the 1960s and for his bizarre personal life. In 2003, Spector was accused of murdering actress Lana Clarkson at his mansion. The movie focused on his relationship with defense attorney Linda Kenny Baden, played by Helen Mirren, who questioned whether he could get a fair trial. Unlike a typical courtroom drama, Phil Spector didn't focus on the legal battle. Instead, it showed a man losing control of his own narrative. Was he a misunderstood genius, or was he exactly what the world believed? The film never gave a clear answer, leaving audiences as conflicted as they were when the case first made headlines. Off-screen, Pacino faced his own real-life drama. In 2011, he discovered he had lost $50 million. His longtime accountant, Kenneth Starr, had been running a Ponzi scheme. Pacino, who had spent decades earning millions per film, was nearly wiped out overnight. Starr had built a reputation as a trusted financial advisor managing money for Hollywood's biggest stars, but behind the scenes, he had been stealing from them. When the scheme collapsed, he was arrested and sentenced to 7 years in prison. Pacino returned from an expensive European vacation only to learn the money was gone. In his memoir Sonny Boy, he described the moment he realized the full extent of the betrayal. "I had $50 million, and then I had nothing." To recover, Pacino took on unexpected projects. He starred in Jack and Jill, a film he later admitted he only did for the paycheck. He took speaking engagements and even appeared in commercials. He called that time a crazy montage of loss, but in the end, it taught him resilience. Even at the top of Hollywood, no one is untouchable. Al Pacino has never been just an actor. He has always been a storyteller, someone who looks for meaning in the roles he plays and the projects he takes on. His passion for acting goes beyond performing. He wants to understand the craft, break it down, and share it with others. That drive led him to step behind the camera. His first major project as a director was Looking for Richard in 1996. This was not a traditional film. It was a documentary, a performance, and a personal journey all in one. Pacino wanted to show why Shakespeare still matters. He chose Richard III, a play about power and ambition, and set out to prove that its themes still resonate. The film moves between different styles. There are dramatized scenes from Richard III with actors like Alec Baldwin, Winona Ryder, and Kevin Spacey. There are interviews with scholars and actors, including Kenneth Branagh and Vanessa Redgrave. The film was a success. It won the Directors Guild of America Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in a Documentary in 1997. Critics praised it for making Shakespeare accessible and engaging. Peter Travers described it as a great adventure and outrageous fun. 4 years later, in 2000, he directed Chinese Coffee. This was a completely different kind of project. It was not about history or literature. It was about two men sitting in a room, talking. The film was adapted from a play by Ira Lewis, and Pacino had performed it on stage in 1992. The story follows Harry Levine, a struggling writer played by Pacino, and Jake Mannheim, a photographer played by Jerry Orbach. Set in 1982 in Greenwich Village, it takes place over a single night as the two friends have a long and intense conversation. It premiered at the Telluride Film Festival in 2000 and was later screened at the Tribeca Film Festival. It did not reach a wide audience, but those who saw it appreciated its honesty. It was eventually released on DVD in 2007 as part of a box set titled Pacino, an actor's vision, giving more people the chance to see this hidden gem. Beyond directing, Pacino has spent years shaping the next generation of actors. Since 2000, he has been co-president of the Actors Studio along with Ellen Burstyn and Harvey Keitel. This is not just any acting school, it is the place where some of the greatest actors in history trained. Pacino himself studied there under legends like Lee Strasberg and Charlie Lawton. He has always said that the studio changed his life. Now, he helps it do the same for others. For Pacino, the Actors Studio is a place where actors can take risks. It is not about fame or success. It is about pushing yourself, about learning without fear. Many of Hollywood's greatest talents, including James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, Paul Newman, and Jack Nicholson, came from this school. Pacino continues to guide young actors through workshops and discussions. He does not just teach technique. He encourages them to read, to think, to explore philosophy and literature. He believes that acting is not just about performance. It is about understanding life. Al Pacino has spent a lifetime in the spotlight, but when it comes to marriage, he never took that step. Despite high-profile relationships with Diane Keaton, Beverly D'Angelo, and Kathleen Quinlan, he remained a lifelong bachelor. In his 2024 memoir Sonny Boy, he explained why he never saw marriage as something that would help his life. He even called it an entrance to the pain train. His views on commitment were shaped by personal fears, and no relationship ever changed that. His time with Diane Keaton is one of Hollywood's most famous love stories. They met while filming The Godfather in 1972. She found him charming but also mysterious. Their relationship lasted on and off for years, but by 1990, Keaton had had enough. While filming The Godfather Part 3, she gave him an ultimatum: commit or it's over. Pacino refused, and she walked away. Though he never married, fatherhood became an important part of his life. In June 2023, at the age of 83, he welcomed his fourth child, a son named Roman, with 29-year-old Noor Alfallah. The news shocked many, especially after reports surfaced that Pacino requested a paternity test. He simply didn't believe he could still have children. When the results confirmed Roman was his, he embraced fatherhood again. Even after separating from Alfallah, he remained involved. He connects with Roman through video calls, and the two even play harmonica together. At 84, Pacino is still working. In 2021, he starred in House of Gucci, and his upcoming projects prove he has no plans to slow down. One of the most anticipated is Modi, a film about Italian artist Amedeo Modigliani, directed by Johnny Depp. He is also starring in The Ritual, a horror film based on the true story of Emma Schmidt's exorcisms, set for release on April 18, 2025. For Pacino, acting isn't just a career, it's something that kept him going through the toughest moments of his life. He often says it saved his life. Now, at this stage, he is still active, still a father, and still reflecting on everything he's been through. He never followed the traditional path, but that never stopped him from living a full life. Whether on screen or off, he remains one of the most fascinating figures in Hollywood.